Hello everyone, the Spider Fanboy here to pick up where I last left off with what if Grandpa Gohan didn't die? Last we left off, the group of Goku, Chi-Chi, Piccolo, and Raditz have taken the recently recovered Vegeta and Nappa with them to head out to planet Namek. They already have their ship prepped and ready, and they're going there to convene with the Namekians to inform them of the threat of Frieza hunting them down for the Dragon Balls, and to help them prepare, as well as to eventually face off against Frieza themselves. They've taken Nappa and Vegeta as reluctant allies. They've taken them in as reluctant allies. They know for a fact that even with their Zenkais after the battle, they weren't as like completely beat down as Vegeta was in canon. They were definitely still beaten, but since they were forced to recover so much more quickly, much more effectively, and that they weren't beaten as intensely, we'll say that well, we can say like they get about the same. Vegeta still's gonna like jump up to like let's say 23,000 instead of 24,000, and right, and for Nappa, uh, yeah, Vegeta sees like he jumped from 18,000 to 24,000, so 24 divided by 18. He saw like a 30% increase. So here he is instead going to be seeing more of a 27% increase. So 1.27 times 7,500. He's going to be like a 960. Nappa's going to be like a 960, whereas Vegeta is going to be like 2,300 or 23,000. And yeah, 23,000 for Vegeta, um, 7,500 for Nappa. Those two are going to be accompanying Goku, Vegeta, or Goku, Chi-Chi, Raditz, and Piccolo. Piccolo is at a power level of, if I'm, yeah, Piccolo has a power level of 1.2 million. Raditz has a power level of 244,000. Goku is at 442,500, and Chi Chi is actually above her, or no, is just below her husband at 430,000. So they're all prepared to head out to planet Namek with a larger and much more sturdy built ship that can go up to 250 times gravity. And they're mainly going to be using this to train Nappa and Vegeta to kind of satisfy their bruised egos and to also get as much information out of them as they can in regards to the Frieza Force. They've definitely gotten some things from Raditz, but considering Nappa and Vegeta are higher up, and it's definitely likely that they kept some things from Raditz, probably either thinking that they didn't have any need to report it to Raditz since Raditz was weaker than them, or just because it's something they learned ever since Raditz went to find Goku and has been gone for like this past year and a half altogether, leaving to Earth and being here on Earth for like this past year and a half to maybe 2 years. The humans, as well as Gohan, are going to be staying behind on Earth just in case Frieza decides to send any other forces here. He saw the power level readings on the scouter on that Vegeta and Nappa scouters picked up, and he also definitely knows about the Dragon Balls that are on Earth as well. So he's probably sending some other forces. Maybe he informs King Cold actually. Maybe he informs his father, and they actually come up with a plan. So King Cold is going to be heading out to planet Earth, and to confront all the fighters there. And whereas Frieza is going to go for planet Namek. So these are our groups, and the fighters on Earth consist of, in this timeline, Videl with her power level of 1220, Gohan with the highest base power level aside from Kami at around 162,000. Like I said, Kami is at just above his own son of at 1.3 million. Yajirobe is at a power level of 95,000. Hercule, or Mark, as I've just been referring to him in this timeline, is at 94,080. Chaozu is at 68,000, Yamcha is at 85,000, Krillin is at 95,000, and Tien is at 134,400. And they each can use techniques, except for Yajirobe since he doesn't really need it. He never really saw a use for it. Um, Yajirobe, Yamcha, and Krillin can use their pump up techniques, and Tien can use his Austere state. 60% increases, and they can all use the Kaioken to various levels, except for Gohan, who has instead been learning to use the Ikari state on command. Chaozu can only use about a 2 times increase in terms of his power level. And they've also learned some spirit control techniques from that Chi-Chi and Piccolo ended up learning in the other world, and that they brought back to teach them. And Kami himself can also use the Kaioken. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and just jump into their training that they're gonna be doing. I'm pretty sure they ended up having like a month to prepare. So, because it took like Frieza a month to get to planet Namek, if I'm remembering correctly. Or was it like, yeah, because I know it took like, hold on, let me make sure I'm looking at the timeline. I'm pretty sure it took them about a month to travel from wherever they were to, okay, hold on. Getting closer and closer, blah, blah, blah. 740s, I'm looking into like the 760s. Get me to like the 760s. Okay, let's see. Okay, so Vegeta and Nappa arrive at around November 3rd. Okay, they arrive on November 3rd, and they end up arriving. They arrive 3 weeks later. Oh no, that's on Fake Namek. Which is not canon. What the hell? And they arrive on December 18th. So it took them about a month and a half for like Vegeta, Bulma, Krillin, and everyone else. And it took Frieza. Frieza ends up arriving around the same time. Yeah. So it looks like it took him about like a month and a half since the fight on planet Earth against the Saiyans. So they'll have like a month and a half. They'll definitely get there in about the same week it took for Goku, since like it's a bit of a larger ship but also more advanced. Will take them about it takes them about the same week, or was it like in 9 days? What was it? It took, yeah. So hold on, wait. Goku heals. Hold on. Yeah, it took him like about a week. Oh no, it took him like 5 days. Okay, so we'll just say it takes him like a week here, just like a solid week. And in this time, they're not going to be learning how to use the Kaioken or anything. Instead, they're going to be introduced to the concept and like making use of the power and the idea of making use of the Ikari state. And they're definitely not going to be getting it down. Maybe Vegeta, with like his prodigy nature, might be able to get his hands on it eventually. But over the course of the initial 9 days, they're mainly just going to be jumping up to like 100 times training under Earth's gravity, which is more like 10 times training for them, or 10 times gravity for them, since Planet Vegeta was like 10 times normal gravity, and I'm pretty sure that was like the standard or something for like most planets. So Vegeta and Nappa are able to adapt to 100 times normal gravity pretty quickly, and we can just say that maybe Vegeta ends up jumping up to. Okay, I'm gonna have him jump up to around his 480,000 that he reached when he ended up fighting against Frieza in his first form. He'll jump up to like 480,000, and Nappa will see at around. I'd give him like a solid. I put him at like what 90. So we'll put him at like the 90,000 Goku ended up reaching. Yeah, 90,000 for Nappa, 480,000 for Vegeta, since he's able to make more use of the training. He's able to adapt much more quickly, and he's able to make greater strides. So we'll say he's constantly pushing himself. Nappa's kind of settling around everyone. It's definitely not easy since he was more than willing to kill them not too long ago, but we could say he's able to recognize the situation for what it is. So he's able to relax himself. He's like, definitely don't want to jump the gun. I'm definitely gonna be annihilated. Vegeta himself is really livid with the situation, but he's managed to make great strides in such a short amount of time, taking advantage of Zenkais, and is able to increase his power level at a completely astonishing rate. And when he ends up realizing very quickly that he surpassed what Goku would have been. But whenever Vegeta and Nappa were resting, and even when they were still around, they were training themselves. So Raditz, not wanting to let Vegeta hold on to this lead that he ended up making for himself, is actually going to be jumping up to keep up some pace with him, and we'll say that he ends up jumping up by 2 times. So since this training isn't really so much for them, and he's already kind of hit his plateau. They're starting to plateau themselves, so he's gonna jump up to 488,000, and he still has his solid lead with his ability to use the Ikari state. And since he hasn't properly mastered it, he hasn't moved on to. I don't know if I said he used Kaioken in the last video. I don't really remember, but he can't use it on top of his Ikari. And Goku himself is going to see a similar, we'll say, similar 2 times increase. He's mainly been focusing on his mastery of the Kaioken, and he can jump. He can make that jump to 10 times. He can like briefly jump up to 10 times Kaioken on top of Zikari. He's basically been walking around this entire time, this entire trip. He's been walking around, training and sleeping in his Zikari state, and Chi-Chi herself has been doing the same for her Ox Princess, or for her Ox Queen state. So the two of them are going to be seeing 2 times increases as well, or I'll give like Chi-Chi a 2.2 times increase. So 430,000 times 2.2, 946,000. Cool, 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 cool. 946,000. Yup. And as for Goku, gonna give him a 2.5 times increase, which is gonna put him at 1,106,250. Piccolo has also been increasing his Kaioken mastery, and mainly, and it's definitely been stressing his power level, and he's also been focusing on his usage of and whenever he's meditating, he's been increasing his practice of ki and spirit control. So he's gonna jump from his 1.2. Again, I'm gonna give him we'll give him the same kind of increase Goku's getting of 2.5 times. 1.2 times 2.5. Oh, that's gonna put him at 3 million. Okay. 3 million, and he can jump up to. He can make use of a times 20 Kaioken, and can jump it up to like a 35 times Kaioken if he needs to. If he needs to. Which is definitely going to be helpful in this upcoming battle. And yeah, that's going to be about it. That's going to be what the power levels they'll have when they reach Namek, and they're definitely ahead of Frieza and his forces. So they have about a month and they have like about a month and some change before Frieza is going to arrive, and they've been keeping track of like when Frieza is going to get there using through King Kai. He's been keeping track of them, and he also informs them and the fighters on Earth of King Cold's and him moving forward with his own forces towards planet Earth. And Frieza definitely isn't expecting any resistance, but when he informed King Cold of the power levels that he saw, um, he definitely worries that there might be more powerful individuals than he would have ever expected. So Frieza is going to be bringing along or Frieza informed it when he informed his father, King Cold, since Frieza and King Cold are the kind of people who want to do the dirty work themselves. So King Cold is actually going to be bringing along the Ginyu Force with him, which Frieza is fine with since he's expecting nothing from this backwater planet of Namek. So Frieza's heading to Namek, not expecting any resistance, and King Cold is heading um, to planet Earth, expecting some decent resistance, but also expecting that the Ginyu Force will be able to handle it. And for like the month that they're gonna have to prepare, the humans are just going to be they're going to be training themselves. They know that King Cold is going to be on a completely different level, but the main preparation is actually going to be in the form of Kami, who's going to be preparing himself by increasing his usage of the Kaioken. But thankfully, when we get to Namek, we're gonna have a power up waiting there in the form of Elder Guru. So they end up landing on planet Namek. Guru could sense their immense powers. Even if they were suppressing themselves, he could sense their powerful presences. And there were definitely two that were definitely nefarious. There were definitely evil sources of ki, but the majority of them were kind-hearted, and they were the most powerful. So he trusted that these visitors were having good intentions, and that trust is confirmed when um, Piccolo ends up Piccolo is going to be kind of leading the charge here, and with his knowledge that he and Kami have garnered from reading the Namekian Book of Legends, from reading and studying the Namekian Book of Legends under Shenron, they've he's been able to learn the Namekian language, and he communicates with the people of Namek. He informs them of the situation, and he asks if they have a leader of any kind, and they end up entrusting him with the Dragon Ball, and they instruct him to move to the rest of the villages and or to head straight to the Elder Gurus so that they can get his approval, and he can help them come up with a plan. So they end up getting their first Dragon Ball, and Vegeta and Nappa definitely want to raise a bit of a mess, but Raditz is quick to step in and remind them what they're really here for, which is to prevent Frieza from gaining immortality, not to gain it for themselves. So they reluctantly stand down, and even though Vegeta definitely wants to get into a fight with him, he knows he can't. He hasn't been able to quite make use of Ikari just yet, so he steps down, and they end up moving out towards Guru. Um, Nail ends up meeting them halfway. He converses with Piccolo for a bit before they end up once more heading to Guru's. They discuss things with him. They explain the situation about Frieza and his want and his mission to use the Dragon Balls. And while he definitely calls out Vegeta and Nappa, he also points out how Raditz's energy seems to have once been tainted for so long by darkness, is in the process of healing and purifying itself through redemption. And he ends up making his offer mainly to Piccolo, Goku, and Chi Chi, and Raditz. And somewhat Raditz. Raditz feels as though he doesn't deserve it. The potential unlock, which is the offer that he's giving out, and when he's going to give them their potential unlocks so that they can stack the cards against Frieza. And when Guru hears about when Piccolo explains his story, how he is the son of a being that once split itself before reuniting, he actually asks if he's like, the son of Kataz, if only I could have met him. And this is where Piccolo actually has a bit of a revelation. he asks for a moment, and he gets into contact with King Kai, who puts him into contact with Kami. And he explains that he wants to teleport to him and to bring him to Namek using instant transmission, which reluctantly Kami does agree to. He makes sure to inform everyone so that they don't panic when his power level randomly disappears. But he's taken to Namek, and Kami and Guru end up having a discussion and a conversation. And he does briefly chastise Kami for his rash decision and selfish wish to become guardian, and how he ended up splitting himself in two, and how much turmoil that caused for his planet, but how well he's grown since then, and how he's rectified his past mistakes and has sought redemption through himself and through his son, and raising a legacy better than himself. And he ends up offering him his power. He offers to be assimilated into Kami, and in shock and not wanting to offend him, he can only accept. So Kami is going to absorb Guru, and before he does, though, Guru calls all of his children. He calls all of the children of Namek, all of the villagers, and he calls all the people of Namek to his home. He informs them of the situation, and before being absorbed, he names Mori as his as the next elder, and they end up using the three wishes on the Dragon Balls. What they first do is that they make a new planet Namek for all the Namekians to live on. They shroud um, they shroud the planet. They shroud this new planet to be hidden, or they transport all of the Namekians except for Guru, Kami, and Piccolo to this new planet, and they are to then be hidden away from Frieza's sight. He informs them that these are the wishes he wants them to make, and then he lets himself be assimilated into Kami, who is going to gain this is going to act as like his own potential release, and then he's going to release everyone's potential. I think I've lost everyone with how I've been talking. Okay, so let me go ahead and go over this one more time. They meet up with Guru. They explain the situation. Piccolo explains his backstory to Guru, and he actually asks to meet with Kami. Piccolo brings Kami to Namek using instant transmission. He makes his offer to be assimilated. He first gathers all of the Namekians, and tells them what wishes to make on the Dragon Balls. Names Mori as his successor and ties the Dragon Balls to him so that they don't disappear, and then he lets himself be assimilated into Kami. Kami is then going to release the potential of Goku, Chi-Chi, Piccolo, and Raditz, and also Nail. I don't know if Nail ever got his potential unlocked, but he's going to get it here. And despite Nail and like his insistence that he actually stay here to help fight against Frieza, they make it clear that it's best to get the Dragon Balls away from Frieza in the first place, to never have to. They're going to lure him here to Planet Namek with their power levels, and they're gonna face off against him. So they end up making their three wishes on Namek's Dragon Balls, and Nail thanks them for even coming here, for informing them, and for doing everything to help protect them. And they say that it's nothing, and the Namekians are transported to New Namek, which is now going to be hidden from anyone with nefarious intentions. And now this former planet Namek is just going to be a battleground for them to plan against Frieza. Kami is then taken back to Earth by Piccolo, and he's going to be using the potential unlock on the fighters of Earth so that they can begin to prepare against King Cold's forces. They've been doing some training, but they are not at all ready yet to step back into the Room of Spirit and Time. They'll do it if they have to, but they definitely wouldn't be looking forward to it, since especially with how draining it can be on the mind. So this is going to be a good alternative, and will probably be enough to satisfy Gohan, since he's still a bit miffed that he wasn't able to join in the battle against Frieza. So yeah, everyone is going to be getting potential unlocks, and the training for like the next month or so is mainly going to be once more in preparation for the Cold family. So I'm gonna go on ahead and give everyone their increases. It normally seems to give them like a 10 times increase, and then that's where it's dependent on your own power, your own capabilities. So yeah, Krillin seemed to jump from a 1,800 to a 13,000. So, and Gohan himself jumped up from a 1,500 to a 1,400. So it was just about an 8 to 10 times increase. Like it seemed to be within that range. And then you end up increasing your power level over time because, yeah, Krillin settled around a 22,000. Gohan settled around a 100,000 before getting a Zenkai, and then forcing himself to, and then he ended up at around a 1 million. Yeah, so, or no, he ended up, that was just due to his being enraged. He ended up settling at around 200,000, and Krillin ended up settling around 75,000. So it's definitely depending on what power level you start with, and like how much you train to increase your battle power, or how much you, yeah, it all depends on your starting power level and what you're capable of. So more power you have, the greater the boost will be. At least that's what I'm getting. And and how much you end up increasing over time. So I'm just gonna jump to like that final increase. So like he ends up Krillin with a power level of 1,500 settles at around a 75,000. Holy shit. Okay, so 75 divided by 1.5. It's like a 50 times increase alone. So I could see most of the humans getting just around that same level of like increase in power at around a 50. Definitely for like Yajirobe and yeah, I'm gonna give that to like Yajirobe and or I think I'll start off with like a 50 times increase for Chaozu and then start increasing how much they get their own increases. So 50 times Chaozu's power level of 68,000. He's gonna end up with, oh my god. Maybe he doesn't need to see a 50 times increase. Maybe like a 25 will be just fine. Because that alone would put him in the 3 million range. Holy fucking shit. Well, that's not going to be enough. That's definitely going to be enough to stomp the Ginyu Force. But their main concern is going to be fighting King Cold. So yeah, 3,400,000, 3.4 million. And maybe this increases how much he can use the Kaioken on his tiny little body. He'll be able to use like a 5 times Kaioken. He's still restrained, but maybe if he goes into, like I said, he ended up learning gigantification through spirit control that they ended up teaching him. So that Chi-Chi and Piccolo ended up teaching him. So he'll be able to increase his multiplier with how large he is. Mark and Yajirobe. Let me see. Okay, so Mark's 94,080 times 50. 470 million. Or 4,470,000,000. 4,704,000. Okay. 4,704,000. 4.704 million. And Yajirobe's power level after a 50 times increase. And this 50 times increase is what Krillin experienced. 475, or yeah, 4,750,000. So 4.75. And this is still a low ball. We can easily say that their Kaiokins is going to be what Goku was able to use times 10 and able to push it to times 20. Maybe Yajirobe can push it up to times 5 because he's just naturally stronger. And Mark can push it up to a times 20 on top of his. Or, yeah, a times, well, maybe like a times 18 in his pump up form. They're mainly going to be training to reach these final power levels and to adjust their Kaiokens now that they have so much more power. And Krillin, my man Krillin, who is already stronger than he would have been um, in canon with at the end of the saga. So 885,000 ends up with a 425,000 in base. Or sorry, Yamcha, 425,000 or 4.25 million. Sorry, I don't know why I'm still saying thousand. Just because there's like a lot of zeros. We can say this is where his own potential finally starts to shine. Um, we'll give them since they've been like the main fighters, they've been training for longer. This is where their potential really begins to shine. So I'll start increasing their like how far it ends up carrying them afterwards. So I'll actually give him a 55 times increase for Yamcha. 400 4.675. Still below everyone else, but more than just his 675. Still below like Yajirobe and Hercule, but we'll say he's able to use a solid jump up to a solid times 20 increase. Krillin 95,000. 5,225,000. 5,225,000 and can still do the same, jump up to times 10 or use times 10, jump up to 20. And Tien is with his 134,000. 134,400, I believe, was his power level. 134,400. Yup. And he's going to be seeing a 65 times increase in power, which is going to put him at an 8,736,000. 736,000. And can use a 15 times Kaioken and can push it to a times 30. Because he be like the absolute training god. Tien, the doctor said if your shoulders get any bigger, that's why we don't see him anymore. And now we gotta get into the really ridiculous ones. So like for Kami, Piccolo, and everyone except for blah, everyone except for Vegeta and oh, hold on, I gotta actually like write them down. I gotta make sure so that I don't lose track of them. Okay, so let me see. So yeah, Reddit's 488,000. Vegeta is that's just 480,000, and Nappa is at 90,000. And they're the only two who don't get potential increases because fuck them. I don't like them. They can ask for some Zenkais. They definitely have a lot more sensu beans since Yajirobe hasn't been living with corn and gorging himself on them. So they have much more sensu beans. Um, let me actually cover the rest of everyone else on Earth. So Kami is going to jump up to it. Let me see. Let me look at the power levels. So Piccolo jumped up from, not by too much. He didn't get too much of an increase from fusing. Um, it was decent enough that he was able to challenge, first form Frieza, and was able to survive second form Frieza. So how much should I say he ends up increasing his power level? I would say, let me see what Guru's power level is. Actually, he should be here, right? Namek Saga. No? You're not gonna give me Guru's power level? You don't wanna? Let me see. Let me see if I can search it up. Guru power level. Gimme. It's stated to be 2000. What is? It would not be much. The main increase is gonna be in terms of his 1,300,000. 1,000,000 divided by 2,000. 650. Or nope, sorry. I don't get what I'm trying to do anymore. Whatever, it wouldn't really provide too much of an increase, is what I'm trying to say. Like, it would be negligible, but it's mainly just going to give him the ability to utilize the potential unlock. But we'll see that with all the training against all the humans who have now been increasing their power level, he's able to make a jump similarly um, to what Piccolo was able to make. How Piccolo was able to make about a 2 times increase, or up. He was able to jump from like 1.2 million to a solid 3 million. Or I'll just put him at like 3.6 million before the potential increase. Kami himself is able to jump up to around 3.9 million. And his Kaioken is like the highest. He can, in absolute moments of desperation, he can push it to around a 45 times Kaioken. And it's mainly like his magic ability. He's able to heal and maybe even strengthen the Dragon Balls just a little bit more. And the big thing I want to mention where Videl and Gohan. So Videl is going to get like that initial 10 times increase, and we'll say she ends up making like a similar jump to what Krillin ends up reaching. So Krillin was able to jump from a power level, like I said, of around 1800 and end up at around 95,000. So around that 50 times increase will give her like a 40 times increase. So 1220 times 40. 48,800. 48,800. And it's mainly going to be with Gohan that's going to get ridiculous. Gohan jumps from, as I mentioned before, his initial 1,500 all the way to 200,000. 200,000 divided by 1,500. About a 13.3 times increase. Or was it 200,000 or 220,000? 200,000. So yeah, a 13.3 times increase. I'm gonna give him like a solid. No, wait, no, sorry. 133 times increase. I'm gonna give him 140. Just cause like that's reasonable. Or 280. Put him at 4,536,000. Still can't use the Kaioken, but he can use his 10 times increase on his he can use his Akari state, and he can much more easily access his rage boosts. Since he's more in touch with his Saiyan side, his Saiyan abilities, he can much more easily, like when it comes to like the heat of the battle. Not that he's been in the heat of the battle, but like throughout training, he's been able to like call upon boosts of power to force the humans into using the Kaioken. So he's actually able to be a serious threat. Um, even if initially he can only be at around 45 45 45 million. It is going. This is a lot of math. This episode. It's a lot of math and calculating. Well, eventually, we're gonna get past the need for all the calculations and stuff. But the rest of everyone else. So I am going to be sticking to that. If I don't give that like this power boost to the same kind of power, if I don't at least give that same multiplier that I gave to Gohan to everyone else, it's gonna be complete bull because we all know that's just not like. Okay, um, we'll start from like the smallest Raditz. We'll give him that same, or no, because he doesn't have quite the same like level of potential. So we'll say that Raditz is going to start with a 120 times increase in his power level, and that is going to put him at around 5. I'm gonna just round that to 5.9 million. So Raditz is going to be at a 5.9 million in terms of base power level by the time that that Frieza arrives. Goku himself is going to receive a 120, 140, or no, 100. Let's go one 14,381, or no. Okay, that's a bit too much. Same increase, 120. 132. Hold on, wait, did I add like one too many digits? And like I didn't carry my numbers correctly? I think I did. Hold on. No. Okay, I'm just not reading this right. Let me see. Yeah, I need to at least give him like 100 times the increase, but that would basically put him on Frieza's level. Fuck it, whatever. I'm trying to stack the deck. Who cares? Okay, whatever. His base power is 132,750,000. 132 million. 132,750,750,000 in his base. He could beat Frieza's full power in his base. That is fucking ridiculous. What have I done? Okay, Chi Chi is going to also get that same 120 times increase, putting her at 113,520,000. Oh jeez, oh jeez, oh jeez. 113,530,000. That's what I, yeah, no, 520, sorry. Sorry, I was off by one number. I made the one number too big in the tens of thousands. Um, we can say that Vegeta just through mainly training kind of on his own and with Nappa, maybe he ends up roping in Raditz into training him to finally end up unlocking Akari for himself just through that sheer prodigy nature that he has to him. Raditz is kind of cheating. He's jumping up with all of this super training and like the time chamber now getting this increase in power through the through that through the potential unlock. So we're going to put Vegeta at around the base power level of, let's say, we'll give him Goku's, or just below Goku's base power level, or power level that he ended up getting through his Zenkai. So we'll put him at like 2.8 million. And we can say Nappa gets to like, since he's kind of beginning to fall behind himself, I'll put him at like a 1.3 million. He ends up being like less than half. He's putting forward at just as much effort as he can. He's exploiting Zenkai similarly to Vegeta, but he's also nearing like the end of that. Of he's kind of, I always imagined him to be like the same age as Paragus, so we can definitely see like he's really starting to lag behind. But just through his sheer experience, how old he is and how much experience he has with Yuzaru, surpassing even Vegeta, even if he isn't a prodigy, he's also able to unlock that initial stage of Ikari where he can like rage his mind into it. And Piccolo is going to be getting the most out of it. I don't. I'm far beyond breaking canon at this point. Um, we are at 3.6 million. So hold on. 432 million, if that's correct. 432 million. Yep. Because fuck canon. 32 million. 432 million with the potential unlock and reaching the ends of it. And again, I'm lowballing this. I'm lowballing this as much as I can. These people are absolutely insane. The weakest power level that I have here is 448,800. Or what am I doing putting Nappa in the millions? I think that's my sister coming home. Yeah, I'm actually gonna downgrade Nappa. I'll put him at like what did Vegeta end up hitting when just like I said, I'll put him at like, I'll give him Vegeta's former power level 400 or 480,000 or 480,000. Nappa's gonna be at 480,000 and he can surpass Vegeta when he's in his own Ikari state. But Ikari with the Ikari Vegeta is 28 million. Okay. So we are going to jump into the invasion part. I can't believe it took me so long to get past all of the power levels. But yeah. So everyone has gotten their increase in power and they are ready to face off against the various cult families. So we'll go on ahead and cover Namek because this is going to be the quickest. So Kui has no reason to go ahead of the group to arrive on Namek, and everyone is suppressing their power levels. Vegeta and Nappa have learned enough about ki control. They can manage to suppress. Oh wait, I just realized. Give me 1 second. Let me actually go check if anyone's at the door. So it's gonna cut for a second. Okay, so it was nobody, and they're finally done lawn mowing, so I can move back over here. But yeah, we're gonna jump into the evasions. We're going to cover Namek first. So yeah, there's no Vegeta heading out to planet Namek trying to get ahead of the Frieza Force, so Kui isn't going to be heading up first, but he is going to be a part of Frieza's main invading force alongside, Dodoria and Zarbon. They arrive on the planet to the only concentration of power levels that they can find. They're kind of confused. Since it's only Goku, Vegeta, Piccolo, Chi-Chi, Nappa, and Raditz. They can only detect 6 power levels, and they're in the tens of thousands. That's where they're keeping their power levels suppressed. And they're like in the lower half below, like around the 20,000 to like 50,000 power range. Which, definitely worries Frieza's soldiers, but not Frieza himself. If he has to, he'll step in. But he'll at least be able to send Zarbon, Dodoria, and Kui. So he brings them alongside himself, and he confronts these warriors, and he actually confronts. He does make a few comments, and especially his warriors in Zarbon, Dodoria, and Kui. They make some comments to the Saiyans of the group. They even notice Goku and his tail. They're able to notice that he's a Saiyan. And Vegeta and Nappa have managed to regrow their tails thanks to the senzu beans they ended up taking. So they actually have their tails. And they point out how Raditz seems to be, uh, picking up the clothing style of his of this weirdo that they picked up. And they're making some derogatory comments, but Frieza ends up silencing them with like a raise of his hand. He does also make his own little comment towards the group of Saiyans, and he asks the Namekians straight out, "Where are the wishing orbs?" And Piccolo then asks him if he's talking about the Dragon Balls, where he says, "Yes, yes, those. Where are they?" And Piccolo actually has like these fake set of Dragon Balls he created, used like the clothed beam, like a modified version of it, on a couple of rocks, so he made some fake Dragon Balls. And he offers them to Frieza, only to have them literally blow up in his face. And, Frieza is definitely miffed. He didn't go for a killing blow just yet. They all kind of came to agreement. They want to see what Frieza's power truly is. They're all really confident in their power. And even King Kai ended up okaying it, despite his initial protests. So he ends up beginning his to power up, and Nappa actually is going to completely wipe out. We'll say that Vegeta decides to get some satisfaction, and he just completely kills Kui. And in response, Nappa ends up killing Dodoria, and the two of them blast Zarbon into nothingness. And they begin revealing their true powers, and they easily surpass like the hundreds of thousands, which gets Frieza to snap into action himself, and he starts powering himself up. And he goes into his first form, and he's fighting against Nappa and Vegeta, who have decided to step up to take him on first. And Goku, Chi-Chi, and Piccolo are observing, and they definitely think he has a decent amount of power. But if this is all he can do, then they're going to be like really disappointed, and Frieza is going to be very very surprised and in for a very bad time. And hearing this, Frieza decides to step it up, especially since Vegeta is gaining the lead on him. And Nappa's eyes the bald brute Saiyan's eyes seem to be burning with seem to be like a burning gold, and he doesn't want to take any chances, so he ends up powering himself up into his his third form. And here he's starting to make a bit more of a difference in terms of his power level. He's really starting to gain a little bit of a lead on Vegeta, who's starting to let his own flashes of like golden eyes start to come out. And in response, he ends up powering up once more into his final form. And we'll say that he ends up jumping up to around 6 million in power level, which allows him to trump Nappa in Ikari and Vegeta in base combined. Or maybe not combined, but he's able to surpass their power levels on their own, and he can hold them off. But Vegeta is starting to use the same power, and Nappa is starting to lag behind. Raditz seeing, and in response to this, Frieza is bumping it up. He ends up jumping to around his 25% power, which, I'm pretty sure that would put him at around 30 million. Yeah, it would put him around 30 million, greater than Vegeta's 28 million, and he doesn't have as good of a handle on this form as he would like to brag. So Raditz, seeing this, jumps in his own Ikari, which puts him at 59 million. So in response, he powers up to 50%, which puts him at 60 million, just above Raditz, but with Vegeta and Nappa backing him up. The three Saiyans together again, they're actually able to start handing him his ass. So he jumps up to 75%, which puts him at 90 million. So he's able to hold all of them off, And he even tells them that if they really want the satisfaction of bringing him down, of taking down the mighty Frieza, then they should do so at his greatest amount of power. And they have some confidence, especially since they know that the others are on standby. So they allow him to power up to 100%. And after like a few minutes, he ends up reaching his max power level of 120 million. And as this has been going on, they each relax back into their base forms so that they can take a minute to breathe before powering back up and charging back into the fray. And here it's much more in Frieza's favor. He's handling them with startling ease. And Goku is kind of disappointed that this is his max power level. He'd get a decent fight out of him just in base, but he doesn't think it would go any further than that. He wouldn't even need a basic Kaioken. And Chi-Chi, seeing this, decides to jump up into a basic Kaioken, which gives you like a 1.5 multiplier. That's how I always saw it. Because, there was Kaioken, and then there was Kaioken times 2, which always kind of confused me. And I saw it as one of two ways. Either one, it allows you to, since like it's a power up technique, I always saw it as like it forcibly keeps you up. It's a times 1 multiplier, but you can use it. It's times 1 of your true base power. So even if you're exhausted, it'll force you to use 100% of your power, or it's just a 1.5 times multiplier. Here, I'm going to use it as a 1.5 times multiplier. So she ends up getting a 50% increase, which would put her at around a... It would put her at like 170 million, which is stronger than Super Saiyan Goku, and she's able to put him down. And maybe he's about to blow up the planet, but she doesn't even allow that to happen. Right as soon as he begins building up some energy to try to blast into the core of the planet, she completely wipes him out. And yeah, she ends up just completely wiping him out. And maybe it does do some decent damage to the planet, but luckily they didn't have to worry about holding back. At this point, it's not like completely destroyed like it was when Frieza ended up blasting a hole into the core, but there are definitely like a lot of those archipelagos, those groups of islands are kind of wiped out. There's definitely some craters and like complete areas of water where or complete holes in the oceans where the water is now rushing to fill back in. And let's say like the water level of the average sea level of the planet has dropped by about like 3%, which is pretty massive when you consider this is across an entire planet with almost all water and like very little continents. It's all just like a whole bunch of islands, like some One Piece type crap. So they've killed Frieza, and they have not achieved Super Saiyan. They've had no need for it. And they check in with King Kai, who informs them how the battle on Earth has been going. So on Earth, we have the humans are going to be facing off against the Ginyus and King Cold. King Cold is leading with the Ginyu force um, into his invasion, and all the stragglers, like all the other ships, by the way, were just blown up from outer space. Both at Namek, it was mainly by the Saiyans, Vegeta, Nappa, and Raditz. They blew up like all of the, they blew up like the ship containing all of the Frieza soldiers, or we can easily say like Goku and Piccolo took care of them, and completely ran through all of the Frieza soldiers without destroying the ship, so that maybe they could like put it in a capsule, bring it back to Bulma for studying. A little nice present for her after all of her hard work in making them the gravity chambers and stuff. Maybe that's what she asked them to do. And as for like the invading force against Earth, we have the Ginyu Force, Goldo at 10,000, Rakuma at 46,000, Bird at 42, Jace at 44, and Ginyu at 120. Similarly to the initial Saiyan invasion, Gohan and Videl are going to be waiting up on the lookout with Kami. They are going to be observing, and they'll be stepping in if they need to at the last minute. As for the humans, they end up facing off against the Ginyu Force, and it is a complete wash. Goldo ends up trying to use his psychic powers to stop time, but Chaozu is able to sense this. He's able to sense like a disturbance, and he's able to actually recreate the technique himself, and is able to use it without having to hold his breath. There is still like a time limit. Maybe he can only use it for like some 10 seconds, some the world type crap, and He's able to only hold it for 10 seconds, and it takes like his concentration, but he's not going to have to hold his breath. And since he's so much more stronger, maybe he surpassed that limitation, or maybe he does it first, but he won't have to for long. He ends up killing Goldo in the stop time, and time resumes. And to everyone's surprise, it just looks like Chaozu just decapitated Goldo, which kind of takes him off guard. But he's quick to explain, like, yeah, he had this weird psychic power. He stopped time for a second there, and we'll say like the only other person who could move through stop time and was able to see this due to his own psychic power was King Cold, because I'm pretty sure King Cold and Frieza both had some level of psychic powers. But yeah, he was able to witness this, and he's surprised. He's like, they definitely have quite the fighters themselves. I wonder if they'd be interested in taking a job in taking a position working under me. But either way, here Raccoon, Burger, and Jay step forward to face off against. Raccoon is going to face off against Tien. Uh, Krillin is going to face off against, let's say, Burger. And Jace is going to be facing off against Yamcha. And once again, a complete and utter wash. They are folded like some neat ass laundry. And here, Mark and Yajirobe decide to show off their synergy as students under Ox King to take down Ginyu. Maybe he's about to use that change now technique, but when he sees the blast heading towards them with surprising speed, even if they somehow aren't able to get out of the way, they can either use Kaioken to blitz out of the way and then completely just annihilate him using like some kind of using maybe like a Kamehameha in conjunction with one another. And even if not, Chaozu can use that stop time ability and move them out of the way when he sees the blast heading towards them and they're unsuspecting. And Ginyu is then killed, and King Cold decides he's had enough. He's going to step up, and he's going to step up to the plate and take them all on. He welcomes all of them to charge him at once, and sensing his underlying power, they don't waste any time empowering themselves up to the absolute maximum that they can handle. So they the rest of the humans end up entering their pump up and Asura states, and they prepare themselves to face off against this threat. So with the pump up technique, Hercule would, let's see, 4.704 704 times 1.6. This would put him around 7,500 or 7.5 million, which would allow him to, with the Kaioken, like I said, Kaioken times 10 puts it around 75 million. Yajirobe is able to push himself to a times 20 Kaioken, putting him at around that would be around like 90 million in terms of power level. Just below 100, just shy of 100 million. Chaozu is not going to be making too much use, but he does consider going into his giant state before deciding to act more as support. Yamcha and Krillin in their pump up techniques, they're around similarly to Mark's own power level. Yamcha is around that same 7.5 million range, and with his Kaioken, he's going to be at around a solid 100 million. Same with Krillin, jumping up to, it'll be more around 8 million in terms of with his pump up technique, and with that same times 10, that would put him at around an 80 million, and maybe he decides to push a little further to like 15. So yeah, they'll all be in like that 70 to 80 million in terms of range, with Yajirobe being closer to just over 90, and Tien is able to push himself to about 12 million. Just over, yeah, no, he'll be between like 12 and 13 million in his Asura state, and with a times 20 Kaioken, is able to push himself over 240 million. Together they do have to coordinate a little bit Even though Tien himself is much more powerful, it's definitely a stressful technique to keep it up at around 20 million. So maybe he more holds it around 15 with much more ease than the others. And together they're able to hold him down. Chaozu briefly enters his briefly he clones himself, and he has all of his clones and himself go into their giant mode so that they can better handle the Kaioken. They all jump up to around 10 to times 10 Kaioken, and this puts them well over like the 60 million mark with their they jump up over like 40 million, and with like let's say around 5 clones they're able to use their psychic powers to hold King Cold down. He's trying. They hold him up in midair, and oh, give me 1 minute. Okay, back here again. Sorry, but basically King Cold is going to be similarly packed up and chopped up, just like with Frieza. Jetsu manages to pin him in midair and actually manages to bring Tien into the world of stop time. Some Zawordo stuff, and he ends up giving him the seconds he needs to charge up a triple tri beam, where he fires the tri beam while in his Asura state, and he actually briefly pushes his Kaioken to times 30, so it's a triple uh, tri beam or triple tri beam, whatever. And he ends up firing it at full power, and it's going to completely annihilate King Cold. Even if you want to say that he survives, whatever is left of him to survive, Kami, who has been observing this whole thing, is quick to wipe out. And there was nothing remaining of Frieza either. Chi-Chi didn't even give him a chance. She used her magic to enhance her final electric Kamehameha that she ended up firing towards him. So there's nothing left of either the Cold family to be brought back. There is one thing to note, though. As everyone is celebrating, and the people of Earth are preparing to move back home, Vegeta and Nappa are actually going to be traveling on their own. They're going to be using Frieza ships, and they're going to be wiping out the remains of the Frieza Force while traveling to strengthen themselves so that they can challenge Goku. They never really got to see his strength, so that's something that they actually want to push forwards. And Raditz is actually going to be tagging along with them. He's decided to kind of act as their handler. He's going to be keeping them from doing anything too stupid, like trying to seek out Namek or new Namek for their Dragon Balls. So they're gonna, and Goku understands. He understands that Raditz wants to choose his own path, and he's glad to know that his brother is going to be safe out on his own. And they end up parting ways amicably. Raditz does say that he'll visit sometime soon. He does still want to check up on Little Daikon, which, as I mentioned before, is the Saiyan name Goku actually gave to Gohan when he was born. So, yeah, Goku, Chi-Chi, and Piccolo just teleport back to Earth. They give the Capsule Corp ship specifically to Raditz, as well as its capsule, so that he can use it to further his training. And he's also going to be using it as a way to allow Vegeta and Nappa to allow him to tag along. Not that they could really refuse him; he's still more powerful than them, but he does use it as incentive. Every The group heads back to Earth. They've just finished their own battle with King Cold. Uh, he was a little closer to the area of Earth, so he was able to get there around the same time that Frieza ended up arriving on Namek. They wanted to coordinate themselves so that they could arrive on both of the planets and achieve their objectives at around the same time. Now, there is one thing to take note of. Normally, the bugs that Jiro was using to observe everyone were destroyed during the attack of the Saiyans, and he never decided to re-implement them. He thought that he had gathered enough data, but everyone ended up making absurd jumps in power these past couple of years. They made absurd jumps of power for the World Martial Arts tournaments, and an even greater one quickly when not only that first Saiyan arrived, that brother of Goku apparently, but when these other two Saiyans arrived. So he has actually been frightened, startled by their growth in power. So he actually re-implemented the cyberbugs. He didn't get them to follow them to Namek, but he did get them to take samples of the battle against King Cold and his forces. So he's not going to have Frieza's DNA. Cell is not going to have Frieza's DNA, but he is going to have. Everyone is going to be much stronger. He's going to have the completed Namekian of Kami, the son of that completed Namekian, at the very least, of Piccolo, and he is also going to have these much stronger base human Z fighters, the hybrid, the nearly fully realized hybrid in Son Gohan, his little human friend Videl, um, Mar- um, Mark Mark Satan, and Yajirobe. So stronger Z fighters, more Z fighters, higher quality Z fighters, and observing of how much they can grow when they are aware of a threat. So he's actually going to be keeping an eye on them for these next couple of years of peace that he's going to allow them. He's going to be strengthening his androids, and he's going to be working at the kinks in his former failures. So when it comes time for the androids to come around, uh, and I'm not going to have any time travel, by the way. We're not going to get a future timeline. This is going to be the main timeline, and Goku isn't going to die. He's not going to die of the heart virus. Some people think that it's due to the fact that he lived in the wild, and some people think it's due to the fact that it's from Yarjet. So whether you think it's an alien or Earthborn virus, he's not going to die from it in this timeline. Uh, and we're going to be seeing a lot more than just 19, 20, or 17 and 18. Um, he's going to be modifying those other three that he's been working on, and he's definitely going to be getting to work on his android, his own transformation into an android. And as much as he'd rather not have them be involved, he does think that he's going to have to bring in his new family in Android 16 and Android 21. We're not going to see Majin 21, but we are going to see Android 21. Android 21 and Android 16 being modeled after his wife and son, respectively, especially after which is confirmed in the Dragon Ball Super superhero movie. So yeah, we are having Dr. Gero properly preparing himself to unleash the androids onto the world. They're going to be much more powerful to accommodate with these much more powerful Z fighters, and sorry, they're going to be much more um, in number as well as power in order to face off against this much more unified front in these Z fighters. So in the next part, we are going to be covering the next couple of years of peace. It'd be about 4.5 years until the initial invasion the uh, of the androids. Yeah, yeah. The androids arrive on age 767 on May 12th. So they are going to be preparing themselves, or no, everyone is going to be, at least for now, unaware of the threat of these androids, and everyone is going to be going to times of peace. The Saiyans, Nappa, Vegeta, and Raditz are going to be heading out into the cosmos to take down the um, last of the remains of the Frieza Force, as well as establishing themselves out in the galaxy to prepare themselves for a rematch against the Warriors of Earth. Vegeta himself has some ideas. Raditz and When Raditz and Goku were training and preparing with one another, Goku explained how he learned about Raditz's existence. He explained about the Dragon Balls and how he made his wish to learn about the Saiyans. And he made mention of the father and son duo, as well as the exiled Prince Tarble. So he actually is going to be bringing these three up to Vegeta and Nappa, and while they initially don't see the worth in it, they do eventually decide that they'll be also searching for the last remaining Saiyans and uniting them against the remains of Frieza's army. Um, the Warriors of Earth are now celebrating their win against the Galactic Tyrants in King Cold and Frieza, and are going to be enjoying these next few years in peace, this next 4.5 years or so. And yeah, that is going to be just about it for now. Um, I'll be covering the beginning of the Android saga, and we'll see how far that goes. We're not going to be getting any future Cell, but we are going to be getting hints to what is going to be going on with Cell, and we are going to be covering the return of the Red Ribbon Army. A little bit of a twist on the initial Android saga. So we are going. So next video we're going to be covering the return of the Red Ribbon Army. That'll be it for today's video. I know it's a lot of power levels, but we're going to be moving into the era where power levels aren't really going to be relevant anymore. So I'm gonna stop listing them off. I'm more just going to be going into their Kaioken multipliers and their transformations and just their power scaling. Definitely still going to be a mess of things. This is Dragon Ball though. So yeah, that'll be it for this video. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think I did wrong, what I missed, any inconsistencies, and or any plot holes. If you don't waste your time. Don't waste anybody's time with useless comments that aren't really criticisms. And yeah, follow for more. Subscribe and turn on that notification bell, and I will see all of you in the next video. Bye bye.